Hey folks, Cool18 here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. And we are still on the way to, not quite yet, but soon, hopefully, we'll be on the way to our first manned moon mission flyby. I just have to get us pointing prograde. It's not twisting very well. So trying to figure out which way is supposed to be the prograde heading is kind of a pain in the ass. There we go. There we go. That direction. Alright, so I've gone ahead and just brought us around here. We're coming up on the moon relatively soon. I'm not going to plan a maneuver. We're just going to basically wait until the moon rises, and then we're going to face ourselves prograde and go ahead for the burn. There's my prograde marker over there. So I'm just going to continue to rotate until we're roughly in that direction. Left. And I don't have to be bang on because the prograde marker will continue to move as we orbit around the planet here, or as we go through our orbit. Now, of course, we are playing with the life support mod, so we only have a limited amount of food, fuel, and, food, water, and oxygen. Now, I could have, of course, brought quite a bit more, but I decided that I wanted to try to, see if we can do it with just the 3 days, because that's all it should be. Just also because the other packs tended to add, hundreds of days, and I was like, well, that's sort of cheap. Alright, we are facing prograde. The moon has risen. I need to put on the SAS. You forgot about that. And we're going to burn here. Now, I'm going to do something slightly different than in most of my lunar orbits, or encounters. You might remember from when I was first starting to play Kerbal, and the first time I went to the moon, I'd intentionally made it so that my orbit was sort of on the left side of the moon. I was coming in from the moon from the left instead of the right, because as far as I knew, it was like, no, there's something about, gravity-assisted slingshots versus deceleration, and I want to obviously stop by the moon, so I should come in from the left-hand side. And then people are like, no, don't do it there, do it from the right. And then I realized, oh, it's because we want to get into sort of an easterly orbit around the moon, because it'll make landings easier. But if I'm doing a flyby, I think it is indeed the correct thing to come in from the opposite side than you might expect. We're going to go ahead and hit the brakes in just a second here. There it is. So, because here's my thinking, and I don't know this for sure. Right now, I will come in that way. Now, I want to come in on quite a low orbit of the moon, so let's go ahead and keep burning prograde a little bit to bring down my periapsis quite a bit more. I need to go below 60. Below 60, there we go, to hit the low lunar orbit to get some science from there. Plus, I can get multiple biome science. It's very valuable. But the problem is here. I'm going to come in from here, slingshot around the moon this way, going to the left. Now, of course, the moon itself is traveling leftwards in this view. And in fact, my own orbit itself, it's all counterclockwise. So anything that adds counterclockwise motion to my movement, I believe is effectively going to be the same as sort of burning prograde. So I think this is going to sling me into a higher orbit. So I think what I actually want to do is come at the moon from the other side, which I can do simply by making sure I'm still aimed relatively prograde, burning a little bit longer, and that'll cross over. And if I do this, so I will still come in from the bottom here, but then I will escape the moon's influence going to the right, which I think will sort of duplicate as a retro burn, but I might be completely wrong. I mean, am I going to come in here, exit that way, and then be in this loop? Maybe, but if I'm exiting here, going against the path of the moon, this doesn't make any sense to me. No, I am. This is going to be my new orbit, but I'm going to be coming out of it here. And going counterclockwise still. So I'll actually be on my way back to Kerbin at this point, right? And then, oh, I should have stopped this sooner. If I'd done it from the other side, I think ultimately I might have been on a slightly smaller orbit, but I think I would have been leaving. I would have been heading towards my apoapsis on this side to a higher orbit, maybe even beyond Minmus. And that would have been more fuel efficient, I believe, but it would have made a much longer trip. If I'm reading this correctly, and I'm going to pop out of the moon here, this is going to be on a return trajectory down this way. I will obviously have to burn to bring this periapsis down here, but it'll be a short return trip. And right now I'm worried about oxygen, food, and water. Mostly the oxygen. If the oxygen runs out, I think I got a couple hours because I've still got my suit on, maybe 1 hour. Food, I think I've got maybe a whole day or something like that for the food and water. I'm not entirely sure. I think ultimately this is better. I'm not entirely sure. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go retro a scooch to bring it down a little lower than this, because I want to try to have enough time in low moon orbit to get all my science done. And that might not quite be enough. So if I just do like a microscopic little burn there, maybe a little more. There we go. That should give me plenty of time in a low lunar orbit to get everything I need. I suppose I can turn off the SAS at this point. Doesn't really matter. We might spend a little bit of time eclipsed by Kerbin over here, but hopefully it will not be enough to run out of power, or at least not run out very long. I suppose... Well, let me fast forward for now. I will turn off the antenna once we're a little further away. I'm just going to make sure there's no more science. There we go. I was going to say 250K. I'm going to beam into a higher orbit. I'm going to be in high Kerbin orbit now, so I should be able to transmit a bunch of data. I don't want to do the material or the goo, because I am saving that for the actual moon space. I'm going to keep that board, and then I can transmit the EVA information. Review stored data, and transmit that. So I'm not going to do the goo. I'm also going to go ahead and toggle off the magnetometer. And because there's no biome information in high space, I shouldn't get any more blips. So I'm going to go ahead and deactivate the antenna over here to save quite a bit of power. I don't know if you noticed here, it went from something like 3 point... Like, I'm still making power, but it went from like 3.5 to 4.3 or something like that. So this burns a lot of energy, which we are no longer doing. I do have this bay open, right, in case I need to right-click on any of the experiments, which I don't have to. And I do have some empty bays over here. I could have easily stuffed a little bit of oxygen or something in there, but that's not really the Kerbal way, is it? Oh my god, I'm going to kill Lamfair over here. I'm so sorry if that's going to happen. Let me go ahead and quick save at this point, because we've done a little bit, and I don't want to crash to F anything up. And we're going to go ahead and warp to the sphere of influence change of the moon. God, I hope this whole maneuver is not completely and horribly wrong. But I think I'm reading this right. So we're going to warp all the way to the sphere of influence change, and then as soon as we encounter the moon properly, we should be able to do some high orbital science. We'll run all the things. We do have all these missions that we want to complete. Oh yeah! We can probably bounce some signals off Ludwig over here if we don't have a direct connection, which will be nice. Yeah, that's going to be perfect, actually, because we're going to want to be able to transmit a bunch of data from some of our reusable experiments while we're in high space over here, so that we can rerun them in low. So at this point, I'm just going to go times 50 should be perfectly fine for crossing the event barrier over here. Sphere of influence change, there we go. And let me zoom into here. I'm going to re-enable my antenna, but I'm going to bounce it off of Ludwig, because mission control is on the opposite side of Kerbin, so we wouldn't have a signal, but we can bounce it off there. We don't have like a great network right now, but it is going to pay off here. Let me go and rotate upwards. SAS turn on. EVA report, keep it, and board. And then when we're on, we'll review that data and transmit it. I mean, I could just bring it home, but for safety, we're going to transmit as much of this stuff just in case, you know, I do F it up and our astronaut dies. That would be bad. We'll transmit that. We'll transmit a temperature scan. And I can take one material study and mystery goo in high orbit. We're going to keep this. 48 science. We're not transmitting this. I mean, if something was looking to go horribly wrong, but we still had a chance to transmit, we might go ahead and do that. But we're going to try to bring it all back if we can. Okay, so now we have to wait until we get within 60,000 meters of the moon, so that we'll be in a low lunar orbit and get that done. I don't think I want to mess with anything here. Once we're at the periapsis, I could muck around with this. To do what? At the peri, if I burn prograde at the peri, yeah, it's the exact mirror image of what you're used to for your lunar return. Because normally we're orbiting counterclockwise, which means at the bottom part of the moon here, if we're burning prograde, that helps us escape the moon, but it also is effectively burning retrograde relative to Kerbin, which drops our orbit. Here, it's going to be at the top part, it'll be the same thing, right around the periapsis. I will burn prograde, which doesn't really matter for my lunar escape, but by burning prograde here, it will shrink the size of my orbit and bring my peri ultimately into range of Kerbin over here. Escape over here, and I think we're going to be going there. And our Kerbin orbit, it's going to be a little counterintuitive because we're orbiting the moon clockwise, but our orbit around Kerbin is counterclockwise. So I do think it's inserting me right here and going south, which is good. God, I hope I'm getting this right. Making this sort of like coordinate changes in my head is not good. Okay, let's go ahead and fast forward to right around there. And, oh, I should quick save one more time. Again, just in case something completely weird happens. Do we have any signal? We do, actually. Although we won't. By the time we're actually in lunar space... Oh, and actually this antenna doesn't have a signal anyway. So, of course, I won't lose control of my ship because it's manned. But I won't be able to transmit tech, which is too bad. Switch it to mission control for now. And yeah, so while we're going to be on the far side of the moon here when we're at 60. So we're not going to be able to transmit right away. If we're lucky, we might be able to get a signal back to mission control shortly before... I'm not wrong, right? We're not going to hit... No. Shortly before we leave low lunar space, we might get a signal, in which case we can transmit a bunch and then run some more experiments on a different biome, if we're lucky. At the very least, we'll be able to get a bunch of different EVA reports. And, oh, my crew reports are being transmitted. So there shouldn't be any in here. Although I suppose if I'm concerned, you just reorient and tip up here. Just the more the hatch is sort of vertical, the easier your life will be on EVA. If I do EVA, take data, board. I think I might have had a crew report that never got transmitted properly. Yeah, keep that. EVA. Take both. And board. Yeah. I didn't realize I was sitting here with a crew report that never got transmitted. Still, we'll be able to send some later on. Okay, keep going. And as soon as we drop 60, unless I'm remembering it wrong, it might be 50. I think it's 60. Hope it's 60. Excellent. Atmospheric scan. So we can't transmit it. I don't have a connection. I could try. Yeah, no comms devices. But we did keep the data there. Keep material study, which we're going to keep anyway. Temperature scan. Keep mystery goo. Come on. Keep EVA. We'll run the EVA report. Keep that. And then we'll also take the data from here, which is all my crew reports, reboard, then they get stored properly so we can run another one. So if we do pass over another biome... Oh yeah, we're eclipsed right now. You know what? Let's deactivate the antenna. Save a little bit of power. Because we're not... Yeah, this is sort of... We're both on the far side and the dark side. But we're about to peek around here. So I guess... Oh, and I could do my burn here. Hold on. Crew report. Yes, we're going to keep that. If I set myself to be roughly prograde... It's like... I wish I could change the point of view here to Kerbin. I want to burn this way. It's not exactly moon prograde. If I do this, and I burn... There we go. Look at this. The periapsis is bring down. We're not going to crash into the moon. No, of course not. We're burning prograde. If anything, we're just sending ourselves higher. Yes, good. And we're only 4 hours away from there. I suppose I could wait until I'm literally on this path, so then I know I'm going to burn exactly retrograde in the correct way. I'm actually mostly doing a radial thing here, which is weird, but not bad. We have lots of delta V. Look, we have over 1,000 delta V for all of this nonsense. And I'm going to want to bring this down to about 22. Should be more than enough to hit the really, really nice thick air to make sure we stop. Because if you didn't have life support system, going up high, as long as you're sort of skimming the atmosphere, you're okay. You might not burn off enough speed to actually land. You might burn through a lot of the atmosphere, then still pop out, loop back around, and then land. But here we have to make sure we get stopped on the first pass. But we don't want to go too low that we burn up too aggressively. I think with aiming at that should be okay. We don't have sunshine yet, but any moment we should. So I'm going to go ahead and reactivate this thing here and keep an eye out for an actual signal activation. If we get really lucky, we can transmit. The KSC is going to be on the right side. Ah, nice. Nice, nice, nice. So let's go through and find what experiments? These experiments. So I should be able to right click, review data, transmit that for 100%, review data, transmit that. We're going to review our stored data because we can transmit all of those for max. Review data, we can transmit this for max. We can't do the material bay or the goo. Oh, we're over 60,000, so we're not going to get any science in another biome. Pooh. Also, unless we get in the sun quickly enough, we might actually run out of electricity here. I think we finished transmitting anything. think our energy rate is fine. Okay, and the sun's going to peek out soon. Ta-da! Okay, I guess we don't need the dish. Although, we'll leave it on there. We might be able to get another crew thing. And we should be in the sun all the way home? Yeah, because I think we're actually going to fall in that direction right over here. So we'll be in the sun the whole way home. Very good. Okay, well, quick save. Warp to the sphere of influence change? Sure. Remember, a day in Kerbal is 6 hours, so we have about 1 2/3 days worth of food here, and it's about 4 hours away. So we should actually, if I didn't screw this up, and we are getting closer, we should land with like, there's 3 hours left over here. We're going to land with over a day left of food and water and oxygen. Now, I didn't have to do that. I could have brought extra, but it was an exercise in trying to figure out, you know, the most efficient and Kerbal-y way to do things. Power is obviously good. Go to times 50 for the full sphere of influence change. Get like weird path and correct path. You got a signal here, although we're not using it for anything. I should probably just turn off the dish. We're going to obviously lose the dish when we separate. 21,000 is good. And that's in just a little over 3 hours. Yeah, we'll have over a day left of food, water, and oxygen. Again, that's only about 6 hours in Kerbal stats. I'm going to go ahead and toggle this down, I suppose. Because we're going to want that shrunk in before we get in there. I'm going to turn off the dish just to make sure we don't run out of power. I'm going to leave this bit on here until we're actually entering the atmosphere. Until right before we do that. Warp a little closer. When we do get into low Kerbin space, there's conceivable we might be getting an experiment. So how high are we still? We're still 1 million. Oh, you know what I realized? I think the focus is still on the moon. There we go. So let's warp to around here. Signal doesn't matter for the landing because, again, we are manned, so we don't have to worry about losing our connection and not being able to open our parachutes. In fact, we're going to be right over the KSC for part of it. We could transmit data because we're going to be within 160K. Yeah, of the KSC, so we have a connection without the dish. Okay, we're closing in on the atmosphere now. One more quick save. I'm facing prograde, so if I were to go and stage right now, I'd be dropping this behind us, which is fine. Let me go and toggle that. I don't know if it's physics enabled, but we may as well put that in there. We can't close these ports because these are the goo containers and whatever. It's just the way they work, so hopefully that's not a problem. I'm going to stage. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and turn myself retrograde. I shouldn't need the SAS on. I'll turn it off. Once we enter the atmosphere here, actually, I may have to do an adjustment right when we enter. But once we enter the atmosphere, okay, sure. Quick save. Turn on the SAS. This is so risky. Quick save. Yes, worth the risk. EVA. Grab it. Board. Before we get knocked off. Are we getting some heat effects here? We are on those goo containers. SAS turn off. Is it going to drift us properly to retrograde? It looks like the answer is yes. That's good. Which should help to encourage the heat shield to absorb as much as possible. Just worried about the bits that are coming out. But I don't... Even though you see flame effects, that doesn't mean they're actually physics enabled and getting that. And I don't think those doors are. Because they should obviously be getting burnt off. We are getting a little bit of damage meter over there, which may or may not be a memory leak, but I'm going to leave them on for now. Something just popped. Oh! That was our other bit. That was the stuff we left behind. Which... Okay, it is falling further and further behind. I'm like, please don't tell me it's going to catch up to us or anything and kill us. That would be... I'm going to say bad? Yeah, I'm going to go with bad. Okay, that's more explosions there. We are getting something with a red line. What the frack is redlining? What is that? Something exploded. I'm worried that it's like a battery or an experiment inside of here. I'm worried now that I should transmit all my data from my solid experiments. What if I die? We're drifting a little off of our actual retrograde. The aerodynamics here are a little wacky. Is this... This is not the material bay. This is a science bay. I can actually close these. I have no idea what's blowing up in there. I suppose we'll be able to get some information. Something else is fucking overheating. Oh no. Oh no. Speed is burning off, but not enough. Maybe this form factor is not good, you guys. Everything's getting hot. We are slowing down. But we're also getting to thicker air. I'm really, really highly concerned. Maybe, let me turn on the SAS and try to keep me completely retrograde. I'm going to manually do this. Lamfair is our pilot. He's going to have the ability to keep locked on these from now on. This, I may have to do this actually to keep the sides shielded. It's possible my side bits are getting too much heat. So I'm going to try place myself exactly retrograde here as much as possible. Alright, speed's finally below 1,000 meters, or 100, yeah, 1,000 meters per second, which I'm not going to EVA now. Could you imagine? Okay, and the heat effects are getting more and more gentle. Just toggle off the SAS. Yeah, it really, for some reason, maybe there's an uneven weight distribution. It really does want to pitch the wrong way a bit. And I think we got some extra heat effect. Oh, we did lose one of our pods back here. Yep, I should have been keeping us... I should have been keeping us more explicitly retrograde. We lost, I think, one goo container. Okay, if that's all it was, it's not too bad. Once our speed drops below 250, we can deploy the chutes, although we're still quite high up. I'm going to go ahead and just physics warp us a little bit. You know what? Just a quick save. Now, I can EVA... Alright, let's pop the chutes now. Once we hit 1,000 meters, they will fully deploy. I might be able to, once they're fully deployed, EVA for a split second before we hit the ocean. That is potentially really crazy. So yeah, I don't think these doors here are physics enabled, but what I think was happening is because of the uneven weight, or maybe this magnetometer might be really top heavy. I hadn't considered that. It is large. If it's quite heavy, I'm betting it was bringing our nose down, which was exposing our belly here to more heat forces, more aerodynamic forces, and burn that off. I'm lucky it didn't go more badly. I should have kept myself locked completely retrograde. Lesson learned. We didn't die, which is good. Luckily, our parachutes weren't on the back there, although they might have been a bit more shielded. I might even be able to EVA now, but I'm not sure about the wind effects. Being wobbly is not good. But now at 1,000, it's going to start to deploy. It does take like a few hundred meters to completely deploy with the new system. Our surface speed is pretty low. Quick save. Let's take a risk. We're not going very fast. Excellent. More science. Not that that's worth a lot, because it is on Kerbin, but it is something. I should be able to physics warp. Actually, if I'm going to risk physics warping and awakening the Kraken, let's go ahead and quick save one more time. Make sure there's no weird explosions. The thing doesn't shake itself apart in some bizarre way. And yeah, with double chutes like this, our speed is not very fast, so there's still several seconds before we actually land, even at times 4 speed. But we do have over a day left of both resources, and I think if I had done my normal path around the moon, I think I would have slingshotted myself to a higher orbit and gone past the range of Minmus before dropping back towards Kerbin. And unless I had a lot more Delta V than I did, I think I would have ran out of supplies before landing and may have even lost someone. Okay, we're going to go ahead and flip this around. I'll turn the SAS back on so that we stay mostly upright. Apparently we can do a magnetometer scan here. I can probably even broadcast it. And I can. And may as well EVA from here as well. Hope that sharks can't jump this high. I like it. Really? Does this count as the same EVA as the one I did before? Oh, that was above the water. If I hit space to let go, and maybe enter the water? There we go. And, oh yeah, one of my mods removes the helmets when I'm on Kerbin with atmosphere. Look at this, no helmet. Okay, recover vessel. We're gonna get a crap ton of science. Now, of course, we transmitted lots home. Even if something terrible had happened to our pilot, we still would have come out with a lot of science. But by being able to recover 2 material pods and a goo pod, we get even more. It would have been nice to recover all 4 of them, but I'll just accept the fact that we didn't die. Look at this, tons of science. That's 210 science from the recovery. No. Oh no, this is all my mission science. Okay, that's fine. We got 22,000 bucks back from our recovered parts because we did recover a lot of the science, and we completed a orbital survey of the moon. And there were sub-steps. Each sub-step would give us more rewards, so we got a bunch of extra science from that, plus money, a little debris, more flybys. Excellent. Completed all that stuff. We've got lots of money. We did upgrade the tracking station to level 2. And the mission control, right? So we got patch conics and the ability to maneuver nodes. The launch pad is currently level 2. Our VAB is level 2, and that's more than enough than we need, really. Space plane hangar, we may start to do some of that. I don't know if we need a bigger astronaut complex. At some point, we might want fully upgraded mission control. Oh yeah, the next thing we'll need to spend money on is the R&D department, because right now we're limited to things that take 100 science, which brings us to here. But we can't get anything at the next level, so we will have to go and upgrade that relatively soon, but I suppose we don't have to rush it. We'll have to figure out what we do next. I mean, we're going to want to unlock a bunch of stuff. There's some good things over here. Oh yeah, I got those triggers in here. Oh, the scriptable system. I do have the KOS mod installed, but I couldn't use it until I unlocked this part, so we may look into some of that next time. But we've completed that mission, and in fact, the next thing I'm going to do is shop around these missions and figure out what I will do next. Potentially one of the things I will do is complete a few of these generic satellite missions. Plant a flag on the moon. A moon landing would be good. The other thing is I have the active job here to create a Kerbin communication network. I think I would like to record doing this, even though it's going to just be launching 3 satellites. I think people would like this maybe as a little bit of a guide here. You know, completing these 3 quests, see what kind of trial and errors involved in doing that, get everything pointing the correct way, that sort of thing, for example. So I think we might work on that next. But I may do, because we only have 1 satellite in orbit around Kerbin right now, right? We just have the Ludwig over here. And is this a quest for an a polar one? I think I will do that. I think I will just, off screen, I will do the polar mission. That will give us 2 nice satellites in orbit. And will give us a little bit of a base connection system from which we can create our actual network missions. And that will give us basically all the networks we need. We do have the moon here. That's really annoying. Didn't we run into that problem with this one? Like, we're going to intersect the moon potentially at some point. This satellite is not going to be long for the world. Because eventually it will intersect the moon and get flung out into the middle of nowhere. But until then, maybe we can use it for some missions. Who knows? And, oh, rescue missions. I'll probably have to start doing some of those. Get some new Kerbals. I wonder if the Kerbals in space, when you pick up a rescue mission, do they have food? If so, how much? I don't know. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.